Welcome to Creepy, the best horror storyteller on YouTube.
Part 1. The Arrival.
The Bramford, an imposing and formidable apartment building on the Upper West Side of New York City, stood as a silent sentinel against the bustling city life. Its towering silhouette, a blend of Gothic Revival and Art Deco styles, cast an imposing shadow over the surrounding streets. The building's history was as rich as its architecture, its walls whispering tales of forgotten grandeur and hidden secrets. Evelyn and Guy Woodhouse, a young couple brimming with hope and dreams, arrived at the Bramford on a crisp autumn day. Their hearts were alight with the excitement of starting a new life together, oblivious to the dark forces that lurked within the building's walls. As they stepped into the grand lobby, an air of hushed reverence enveloped them. The dimly lit space, adorned with antique furnishings and faded tapestries, exuded a sense of timeless elegance. The marble floors echoed with the soft click of their footsteps, the silence broken only by the occasional creak of the ancient grandfather clock that stood sentinel in the corner. The Woodhouses were greeted by Minnie Castevet, the elderly building manager, whose smile held a hint of something sinister. Her thin frame, draped in a black dress that seemed to swallow her whole, made her appear even more imposing. Her eyes, pale and piercing, held a depth of knowledge that Evelyn found both unsettling and intriguing. Minnie led the couple through the labyrinthine corridors, their footsteps echoing in the cavernous hallways lined with dark wood paneling. The air hung heavy with the scent of old books and polished wood, a fragrance that seemed to seep into their very bones. Finally, they reached their apartment, a spacious unit on the top floor. The apartment, though grand in its own right, felt cold and empty, as if the life had been sucked out of its walls. Evelyn couldn't shake the feeling that they were not alone, that unseen eyes were watching their every move. As they settled into their new home, Evelyn couldn't ignore the strange occurrences that began to plague them. Doors would creak open and shut on their own, whispers seemed to echo from empty rooms, and shadows danced at the edges of their vision. Guy, ever the pragmatist, dismissed these occurrences as the usual creaks and groans of an old building. But Evelyn, with her artistic sensibilities and keen intuition, couldn't shake the feeling that something sinister was at play. Their neighbors, the Castevet couple, added to the unsettling atmosphere. Roman Castevet, a renowned composer with a mysterious aura, and his wife, Minnie, seemed to possess an uncanny knowledge of the building's dark history. Their presence was both comforting and disturbing, their smiles concealing a depth of secrets that Evelyn couldn't fathom. As the days turned into weeks, Evelyn found herself drawn into the Castevets' world of occult practices and ancient rituals. The allure of the unknown was irresistible, and she found herself eager to learn more about the mysterious forces that seemed to permeate the Bramford. Little did she know that her curiosity would lead her down a path of unimaginable horror, a path from which there would be no escape.
Part 2. The Neighbors.
Evelyn and Guy's new life at the Bramford was far from the peaceful haven they had envisioned. The building's eerie atmosphere and the enigmatic Castevet couple cast a long shadow over their days, disrupting their tranquility and filling their hearts with an unsettling dread. The Castevets were a constant presence in the Woodhouses' lives, their presence both comforting and disturbing. Roman Castevet, with his air of mystery and his captivating tales of ancient music, held a strange fascination for Evelyn. His piercing blue eyes seemed to see into her very soul, and his touch sent shivers down her spine. Minnie Castevet, the elderly matriarch of the family, was a study in contradictions. Her diminutive frame and frail appearance belied a sharp intellect and a cunning that Evelyn found both intimidating and intriguing. Her smile, though often warm and welcoming, held a hint of something sinister, a secret knowledge that Evelyn was desperate to unravel. The Castevets' influence on the Woodhouses grew stronger with each passing day. They seemed to weave themselves into the fabric of their lives, their presence inescapable and their influence undeniable. Roman's music, infused with an otherworldly beauty, filled their apartment, its haunting melodies echoing in the stillness of the night. Minnie's stories of the Bramford's dark past, whispered in hushed tones, painted a picture of a building steeped in occult practices and hidden secrets. As Evelyn delved deeper into the Castevets' world, she began to notice subtle shifts in Guy's behavior. He seemed increasingly withdrawn, his once vibrant personality overshadowed by a growing sense of unease. Their conversations, once filled with laughter and shared dreams, became strained and awkward, punctuated by long silences and unspoken tensions. Evelyn's concerns grew as she witnessed the Castevets' increasing influence over Guy. They seemed to have a strange hold over him, their words and actions subtly manipulating his thoughts and behaviors. Guy, once fiercely independent and skeptical, now deferred to the Castevets on every decision, his trust in them unwavering. The other tenants of the Bramford, a motley crew of eccentrics and loners, added to the building's unsettling atmosphere. Their hushed whispers and furtive glances seemed to confirm Evelyn's growing suspicions that something sinister was at play. The building, once merely a place of residence, had transformed into an ominous stage for a dark drama unfolding before her very eyes. Evelyn found herself increasingly isolated, trapped in a web of deceit and manipulation. Her concerns for Guy and her growing sense of dread were dismissed as unfounded fears, her attempts to unravel the truth met with skepticism and discouragement. But Evelyn was not one to be easily swayed. Her artistic sensibilities and her unwavering belief in the unseen gave her an intuition that could not be ignored. She knew that something sinister was lurking beneath the surface of the Bramford's seemingly ordinary facade, and she was determined to uncover the truth, no matter the cost.
Part 3. The Pregnancy.
As Evelyn delved deeper into the Castevets' world, her life took an unexpected turn. She found herself pregnant, a development that should have brought joy and excitement, but instead filled her with a sense of foreboding. The pregnancy was marked by unusual symptoms and unsettling dreams. Evelyn's senses heightened, her perception distorted by a constant undercurrent of unease. The Castevets' presence grew more pervasive, their influence seeping into every aspect of her life. Roman's music, once a source of fascination, now filled her with an inexplicable dread. Its haunting melodies seemed to echo the growing darkness within her, a darkness that mirrored the growing darkness within the Bramford. Many stories of ancient rituals and demonic forces took on a new and chilling significance. Evelyn found herself haunted by the tales of unsuspecting souls ensnared in the Castevets' web of manipulation, their lives forever altered by the forces they had unwittingly unleashed. Guy, once a pillar of strength and support, seemed to retreat further into himself. His once loving gaze now held a hint of something distant, his touch a mere formality. Evelyn felt a growing chasm between them, an unspoken distance that mirrored the growing darkness within the building. As the pregnancy progressed, Evelyn's dreams grew more vivid and disturbing. She found herself trapped in a labyrinthine world of shadows and whispers, pursued by unseen forces that sought to consume her. In these dreams, the Castevets were always present, their faces twisted into grotesque masks of malice, their laughter echoing through the darkness like a chilling dirge. Evelyn's waking hours were no less unsettling. The Bramford seemed to come alive at night, its walls whispering secrets and its shadows concealing unseen horrors. She felt a constant presence, an unseen force that watched her every move, its intentions shrouded in mystery. Her attempts to confide in Guy were met with disbelief and dismissal. He dismissed her concerns as the heightened emotions of pregnancy, refusing to acknowledge the unsettling reality she was facing. Evelyn felt increasingly isolated, trapped in a world where her fears were dismissed and her sanity questioned. But Evelyn was not one to be easily silenced. Her determination to uncover the truth grew stronger with each passing day, fueled by a maternal instinct that warned her of the danger that lay ahead. She knew that she had to protect her unborn child, to shield it from the darkness that threatened to consume them both.
Part 4. The Ritual.
Evelyn's growing sense of dread reached a crescendo one night when she was awakened by a strange and unsettling sound. It was a low, rhythmic chanting echoing from the depths of the Bramford. As she listened, the chanting grew louder, its intensity sending shivers down her spine. She felt an overwhelming compulsion to investigate, a primal urge to follow the source of the chanting. Guided by the eerie melody, she crept through the labyrinthine corridors of the Bramford, her heart pounding in her chest. The chanting led her to a hidden room, a dimly lit space adorned with strange symbols and cryptic texts. In the center of the room, the Castevets stood in a circle, their faces illuminated by the flickering flames of candles. They were engaged in an occult ritual, their voices weaving a tapestry of ancient incantations. Evelyn watched in horror, her mind struggling to comprehend the scene unfolding before her. The Castevets' movements were fluid and precise, their expressions a mix of concentration and fervor. Their eyes, glowing with an otherworldly light, seemed to pierce through the darkness, as if they could see into the very depths of her soul. As the ritual reached its crescendo, Evelyn felt a surge of energy course through her veins. Her heart pounded like a drum, and her head throbbed with an intensity that made her vision blur. She felt a strange sensation, as if her very essence was being pulled into the ritual, her spirit becoming entwined with the dark forces that the Castevets were invoking. When the ritual finally ended, Evelyn felt drained and disoriented. The Castevets turned to her, their smiles concealing a hint of something sinister. They welcomed her into their circle, their words dripping with a false warmth that did little to mask their true intentions. Evelyn felt a surge of fear and regret, but it was too late. She had crossed a threshold, ventured into a realm from which there was no return. The Castevets had their hold on her, and their influence would forever shape the destiny of her unborn child.
Part 5. The Doubts.
The following days were shrouded in a haze of confusion and uncertainty for Evelyn. The events of the night of the ritual seemed to play out in her mind like a distorted dream, leaving her questioning her sanity and the reality of her surroundings. As the days turned into weeks, Evelyn's doubts grew stronger. The Castevets' influence on her life became increasingly undeniable, their presence a constant reminder of the dark path she had tread. Guy, once her rock-in confidant, seemed to have retreated into a world of his own, his distance from her a painful echo of the growing chasm between them. Evelyn's pregnancy, once a source of joy and anticipation, now filled her with a sense of dread. The baby, once a symbol of hope and renewal, now seemed like a pawn in the Castevets' sinister game, a vessel for their malevolent intentions. The dreams that had plagued her before the ritual grew more vivid and disturbing. She found herself trapped in a labyrinth of shadows, pursued by unseen forces that sought to consume her and her unborn child. In these dreams, the Castevets were always present, their laughter echoing through the darkness like a mocking refrain. Evelyn's waking hours were no less unsettling. The Bramford seemed to come alive at night, its walls whispering secrets and its shadows concealing unseen horrors. She felt a constant presence, an unseen force that watched her every move, its intentions shrouded in mystery. Her attempts to confide in Guy were met with disbelief and dismissal. He dismissed her concerns as the heightened emotions of pregnancy, refusing to acknowledge the unsettling reality she was facing. Evelyn felt increasingly isolated, trapped in a world where her fears were dismissed and her sanity questioned. But Evelyn was not one to be easily silenced. Her determination to uncover the truth grew stronger with each passing day, fueled by a maternal instinct that warned her of the danger that lay ahead. She knew that she had to protect her unborn child, to shield it from the darkness that threatened to consume them both. One night, as Evelyn lay awake in bed, her mind consumed by doubts and fears, a strange sensation washed over her. It was as if a veil had been lifted, revealing a hidden truth that had been obscured from her sight. She realized that the Castevets' influence on her was not merely psychological, but something far more insidious. They had somehow manipulated her very essence, weaving their dark magic into the fabric of her being. The realization filled her with a surge of terror, a primal fear that knew no bounds. She knew that she had to escape the Bramford, to break free from the Castevets' control before it was too late.
Part 6. The Discovery.
Evelyn's newfound clarity ignited a spark of hope within her. She knew that she had to escape the Bramford, to sever the ties that bound her to the Castevets and their dark intentions. But her path was fraught with danger, for the Castevets would not relinquish their prize so easily. One night, under the cover of darkness, Evelyn embarked on her daring escape. She slipped out of her apartment, her heart pounding in her chest, her mind racing with the details of her plan. She had to be quick, silent, and inconspicuous, for the Castevets were always watching. As she navigated the labyrinthine corridors of the Bramford, Evelyn's senses were on high alert. She could feel the Castevets' presence, their eyes following her every move, their whispers echoing in the shadows. She had to stay one step ahead, outsmarting their cunning and evading their watchful gaze. Finally, she reached the front door, the gateway to her freedom. She fumbled with the lock, her hands trembling with a mixture of fear and anticipation. Just as she was about to turn the handle, a hand clamped down on her shoulder, a chilling whisper brushing against her ear. "Where do you think you're going, Evelyn?" Evelyn spun around, her eyes widening in horror. Roman Castevet stood before her, his face a mask of cold fury. His eyes, once filled with a deceptive warmth, now burned with an otherworldly intensity. "You will not escape us, Evelyn," he hissed. "You are ours now, bound to us by the forces you cannot comprehend." Evelyn fought back a wave of panic, her resolve hardening in the face of Roman's threatening stance. "I will not be your pawn, Roman," she countered, her voice trembling but unwavering. "I will protect my child from your evil intentions." Roman's eyes narrowed, his gaze piercing Evelyn's soul. "You underestimate our power, Evelyn," he warned. "We can bend reality to our will, manipulate the very fabric of existence. You cannot escape us." Evelyn knew that Roman was not bluffing. She had seen firsthand the dark powers at his command, the forces that had been used to manipulate her and ensnare her in their web of deceit. But she also knew that she had to fight back. She had to protect her child, to shield it from the darkness that threatened to consume them both. With a surge of determination, Evelyn broke free from Roman's grasp and fled into the night. The Bramford's corridors echoed with her footsteps, the shadows closing in around her, but she ran on, her heart pounding with a newfound strength. She knew that she was not alone in her fight. The spirit of her unborn child, a beacon of hope in the midst of darkness, guided her steps. She would not be defeated, not while there was still a chance to protect her child and break free from the Castevets' clutches.
Part 7. The Escape.
Evelyn's escape from the Bramford was a harrowing journey fraught with danger and uncertainty. The imposing structure, once her home, had transformed into a labyrinth of shadows and whispers, a prison from which she had to find a way to break free. As she fled through the labyrinthine streets of New York City, the city that had once been a symbol of hope and opportunity now seemed like a menacing maze, its towering buildings and bustling crowds concealing unseen threats. The Castevets were relentless in their pursuit, their dark influence seeping into every aspect of Evelyn's life. They manipulated her thoughts, distorted her perceptions, and used their knowledge of the city's hidden corners to trap her in a game of cat and mouse. But Evelyn was no longer the naive and trusting woman who had first entered the Bramford. She had been hardened by her experiences, her maternal instinct sharpened by the threat to her unborn child. She learned to navigate the city's underbelly, to blend in with its shadows, and to use her surroundings to her advantage. She found allies in unexpected places, individuals who had also felt the sting of the Castevets' malevolence and were willing to stand against their dark forces. Together, they formed a network of support, providing Evelyn with refuge, information, and a sense of camaraderie in her fight for freedom. As the days turned into weeks, Evelyn's determination grew stronger. She delved deeper into the history of the Castevets, uncovering their dark legacy of manipulation and deceit. She learned of their ancient rituals, their connections to occult powers, and their insatiable thirst for control. With each revelation, Evelyn's resolve hardened. She realized that her escape was not just about her own survival, but about protecting the future of her child, about breaking the cycle of darkness that the Castevets had sought to perpetuate. The Castevets' pursuit intensified, their desperation growing as they realized that Evelyn was slipping through their grasp. They unleashed their full arsenal of dark powers, conjuring nightmares, manipulating events, and using their influence to turn public opinion against Evelyn. But Evelyn was prepared. She had learned to shield her mind from their mental assaults, to see through their illusions, and to counteract their manipulations. She had also forged alliances with individuals who possessed powers of their own, individuals who could counter the Castevets' dark magic with their own forces of light and protection. The final confrontation was inevitable, a climactic clash between the forces of light and darkness. Evelyn, armed with her newfound knowledge, her unwavering determination, and the unwavering support of her allies, faced the Castevets head-on. The battle raged through the streets of New York City, a spectacle hidden from the eyes of ordinary mortals. Evelyn fought with the strength of a mother protecting her child, her every move fueled by an unwavering love for her unborn offspring. In the end, Evelyn triumphed, her spirit unbroken, her will unwavering. The Castevets' dark reign was shattered, their power over her and her child forever broken. Evelyn emerged from the darkness, a survivor of a harrowing ordeal, her spirit tempered by the trials she had endured. She welcomed her child into the world, a beacon of hope amidst the shadows, a symbol of the triumph of light over darkness.
Part 8. The Revelation.
In the aftermath of the battle, Evelyn found herself face to face with the truth, a truth that had been hidden from her all along. She learned that the Castevets were not merely a group of power-hungry individuals, but the descendants of an ancient bloodline, a line that had been tainted by evil for generations. The Castevets believed that their lineage was destined to bring forth a child of immense power, a child who could manipulate the very fabric of existence. They had sought to ensure that Evelyn would be the vessel for this child, hoping to harness its power for their own nefarious purposes. Evelyn was horrified by this revelation, her maternal instincts recoiling at the thought of her child being used as a pawn in a dark game. She swore to protect her child from the Castevets' influence, to shield it from the legacy of evil that had been thrust upon it. But the truth was not without its complexities. Evelyn learned that her child, while possessing the potential for immense power, was also a beacon of hope, a symbol of the potential for good that existed even amidst the darkest of times. She realized that her child was not just hers to protect, but a gift to the world, a chance to break the cycle of darkness that had plagued humanity for centuries. This realization brought with it a heavy burden, but Evelyn was determined to rise to the challenge. She knew that she had to raise her child with a strong sense of morality, to instill in them the values of compassion, empathy, and the unwavering belief in the power of good. With the help of her allies, Evelyn set about creating a safe haven for her child, a place where they could grow and develop their powers without fear of exploitation. She surrounded them with love, guidance, and a sense of belonging, nurturing their spirit and helping them to understand the immense responsibility that lay before them. As the years passed, Evelyn watched with pride as her child grew into a remarkable individual, their power tempered by wisdom, their compassion boundless. She knew that she had fulfilled her promise, that she had protected her child from the darkness and nurtured their potential for good. Evelyn's journey had been a harrowing one, a test of her strength, courage, and unwavering love. But through it all, she had emerged victorious, not just for herself and her child, but for all of humanity. She had broken the cycle of darkness, lit a beacon of hope, and proved that even in the face of overwhelming odds, the power of love and compassion could prevail.
Part 9. The Confrontation.
Evelyn and her allies prepared for the final confrontation with the Castevets, knowing that the fate of the child hung in the balance. They gathered in a secluded location, a place shielded from the Castevets' dark influence, where they could focus their energies and prepare for the battle ahead. Evelyn stood at the center of the circle, her child cradled in her arms, a symbol of hope amidst the gathering darkness. Her allies stood around her, their faces etched with determination, their powers radiating with a warm, protective light. The Castevets arrived in a swirl of shadows, their eyes glowing with malevolent energy. They surrounded Evelyn and her allies, their presence casting a pall of despair over the once tranquil space. "You cannot defeat us, Evelyn," Roman Castevet declared, his voice echoing with the power of ancient darkness. We have been preparing for this moment for centuries, and our power is far greater than yours." Evelyn stood tall, her gaze unwavering, her voice filled with a strength that belied her fear. "You underestimate the power of love, Roman," she countered. "The power of a mother's love for her child is an unstoppable force, a beacon of light that can pierce even the darkest abyss." The battle raged, a clash of light and darkness, hope and despair. Evelyn and her allies fought with unwavering determination, their powers fueled by their belief in the child's potential for good. The Castevets unleashed their full arsenal of dark magic, conjuring nightmares, manipulating the environment, and using their influence to turn the tide of the battle in their favor. But Evelyn and her allies were not to be defeated. They countered the Castevets' dark magic with their own forces of light and protection, their combined strength forming an impenetrable shield against the encroaching darkness. As the battle reached its climax, Evelyn found herself face to face with Roman Castevet, their eyes locked in a silent duel of wills. Roman's power was immense, his eyes burning with the intensity of 1,000 suns. But Evelyn's love for her child was stronger, a force that burned with an unwavering light. In a final, desperate act, Roman unleashed his most powerful spell, a torrent of dark energy that threatened to consume Evelyn and her child. But Evelyn stood firm, her love for her child forming a protective barrier around them. The dark energy crashed against her shield, but it could not penetrate. The spell rebounded, striking Roman Castevet with its own force. He recoiled in agony, his eyes dimming, his power fading. The Castevets, weakened by their leader's fall, were no match for Evelyn and her allies. Their dark magic dissipated, their shadows retreating into the darkness from which they came. The battle was over, the forces of light had triumphed. Evelyn and her allies stood victorious, their hearts filled with relief and hope. They had protected the child, ensuring that its power would be used for good, not for evil. Evelyn looked down at her child, their eyes filled with love and pride. She knew that the future was uncertain, that there would be more challenges to face. But she also knew that her child was strong, their potential for good limitless. Together, they would face the future with courage, hope, and the unwavering belief in the power of love.
Part 10. The Unending Curse.
In the aftermath of the battle, Evelyn and her child sought refuge in a remote village nestled amidst the towering peaks of the Himalayas. Far removed from the reach of the Castevets and their dark influence, they hoped to raise their child in peace, nurturing their power and guiding them towards a life of purpose. Evelyn, forever marked by her encounter with the Castevets, carried the weight of their dark legacy within her. She knew that the threat of evil was never truly vanquished, that the forces of darkness would always seek to exploit the power of her child for their own nefarious purposes. But Evelyn was not one to be easily discouraged. She had faced the darkness and emerged victorious, and she was determined to protect her child from its clutches. She instilled in them a deep sense of morality, teaching them the importance of compassion, empathy, and the unwavering belief in the power of good. As her child grew, their power manifested in extraordinary ways. They possessed the ability to heal the sick, to restore life to the dying, and to connect with the very essence of nature. Evelyn watched in awe as her child's power blossomed, knowing that they held the potential to make a profound impact on the world. But the forces of darkness were not idle. The Castevets, though weakened, never lost sight of their ultimate goal. They sought to undermine Evelyn's influence, to manipulate her child's trust, and to turn their power towards evil. Evelyn and her allies remained vigilant, ever watchful for the Castevets' return. They trained her child to harness their power responsibly, to use it for the betterment of humanity and to resist the temptations of darkness. The battle between light and darkness continued, a constant struggle for the soul of the child. Evelyn and her allies fought tirelessly, their love and determination unwavering. They knew that the fate of the world hung in the balance, and they were prepared to fight to the very end. In the end, the child's destiny remained uncertain. The future was a tapestry of possibilities, woven with threads of hope and despair, light and darkness. But Evelyn, her heart filled with love and unwavering belief, held on to the hope that her child would choose the path of righteousness, that their power would be used for the greater good, and that the world would be bathed in the light of their extraordinary potential.
Thank you for watching. Please like, share, and subscribe for more similar horror stories.